Markey from the great Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and the Council of Environmental Quality Chairwoman, Brenda, Mallory. But first, it is my distinct honor to introduce one of the greatest conservation and environmental champions in the entire country, the chair of the amazing Sierra Club, my good friend and colleague, Ramón Cruz. Ramón?
All right. Thank you, Collin. Thanks for that lovely introduction. And thank you to the Climate Action Campaign and all of our coalition allies for organizing this great event today. You know, tomorrow is the first anniversary of President Biden's signing his historic executive order on climate, which centers environmental justice in federal climate action. And you know, I want to thank Chair Mallory for joining us today and her incredible work over this past year to make these commitments a reality. We know that, you know, we have a long way still to go to address the health and environmental and climate-related impact in disadvantaged communities and protect people on the front lines from industrial pollution and climate damages. And we're excited to continue the fight for progress. I want to point out, you know, another great EJ victory, and one that is very near and dear to my heart is the funding for the Caño Martín Peña Ecosystem Restoration Project that was included in last year's infrastructure bill. And this funding, you know, will benefit a historically neglected EJ community in the heart of San Juan, where I'm from, actually. And it's a living example of what can be achieved, you know, when elected officials hear and center public policy with the participation of community voices. So many projects like this, you know, are possible, and that is why the Sierra Club remains dedicated to passing the strongest, most comprehensive version of the Build Back Better Act. And doing so is the only way to achieve President Biden's goal of cutting climate pollution in half by 2030, while also investing in a more just, healthy, and equitable future for every single one of our communities. You know, right now, this legislation includes more than 130 programs that would invest nearly $600 billion in climate action, clean energy, jobs, and environmental justice, as well as critical funding for childcare, pre-K and higher education, support home care for older Americans and people with disabilities, expand Medicare and Medicaid, and more. So simply put, you know, our communities can't wait. So, you know, let's face the facts here. You know, there is a clear path forward for Build Back Better. We know it won't be easy. You know, fighting for a more just and equitable future for everyone never is. And that's why we have and will continue to call upon and pressure President Biden and the Senate to swiftly move this historic bill down, you know, that path ahead of the State of the Union speech on March 1st. So the Build Back Better, you know, will provide critical benefits for our communities, including converting more than 60,000 diesel school buses to clean electric buses, so school children can breathe cleaner air. You know, it will help replace over 5 million lead service lines to deliver clean water to communities nationwide. And so many more, you know, boosting access to renewable energy in low-income and indigenous communities by covering 40 to 50% of the cost of solar and wind projects. And, you know, supporting community-led efforts to clean up toxic pollutions, adapting to climate change, and achieving healthier living standards in neighborhoods that have endured environmental injustice. So, you know, beyond this bold climate action, the bill will support the health and economic security that millions of families, including climate-impacted families, need. The bill will also reduce the cost of healthcare, prescription drugs, childcare, and elder care, create free universal access to preschool education, cut utility bills, making clean electricity cheaper. So, you know, there's so many things, transit, clean transit options, etc. So, you know, we think that climate justice and social justice are inseparable. You know, as the family hardest hit by the climate disaster are also those most in need of a stronger social safety net, as we know. You know, so we're working to fight for all these along congressional giants, leaders like Senator Ed Markey, who have been tireless champions for climate justice for decades. And that's why, right now, as you can see in the screen, it's my honor and privilege to introduce Senator Markey, a tireless advocate for climate action, environmental justice, and the American people, as our guest speaker tonight. He has been instrumental in shaping the Build Back Better Act, helping to make it the largest ever investment in climate action, good clean energy jobs, and environmental justice. So please, Senator Markey, floor is yours.
Wow. Ramon, thank you so much. Thank you for all of your incredible leadership, the Sierra Club, just absolutely there every single day, and your leadership is indispensable. Thank you. And Collin, thank you for everything that you do, and just organizing this and bringing us all together. You are just such a great leader, and Brenda, Mallory being on here tonight, just having someone on the inside knowing what is going on and providing the historic change from Donald Trump, so that we go from climate deniers in the Oval Office to people who believe and want to make sure that they can make a difference, and that our country stands up and leads the rest of the world. So thank you, Brenda. And thanks to all the other groups that are sponsoring this event this evening. And thanks to everyone joining us. This is the moment, the hinge in history. The great Irish poet once said that there's a moment in time when hope and history rhyme. That's where we are right now. And we have to make sure that we capture this moment. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for standing up. Thank you for saying climate can't wait. In 2021 alone, 40% of Americans, nearly 132 million people across our country, were impacted by climate change and extreme weather events. Fires in the West, freezing cold temperatures in Texas, extreme heat in the Pacific Northwest, flooding in the Gulf of Mexico, rising sea levels in New England. 20 separate individual multi-billion-dollar disasters ran up the U.S. tab in 2021, the second most on record for a given year. And these tragedies took the lives of at least 700 people in the United States in 2021. That's 700 lives, 700 families, 700 people who should still be with us. Climate in 2021 alone caused $145 billion worth of damage in the United States. Let me say that again, $145 billion of damage in 1 year in the United States. What are we talking about with Build Back Better? In the climate section, $550 billion. So every 3 or 4 years, in other words, we're seeing $555 billion worth of damage in our country. If we put in place the protections, the safeguards, then we will be able to avoid the worst, most catastrophic consequence of climate change. But we have to act now. It's just about 3 years ago that I introduced the Green New Deal with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and people charged us with socialism in the Green New Deal. What's my answer? Give us some of the socialism that we've given the oil, gas, and coal industry for 100 years, and we'll have a wind and solar and all-electric vehicle and battery storage technology revolution in our country that will employ millions of people, social justice, environmental justice at its heart, and dramatically reducing greenhouse gases. So here's the truth. If we fail to act now, every year will bring more death, more debt, more destruction from climate change. We just can't afford to continue to pay in lives and livelihoods. But Congress is faced with an opportunity right now to pass life-saving climate action that would take steps to reduce emissions, address environmental injustice, and create all of those millions of good-paying union jobs. And I believe there's a deal to be made. The Build Back Better package has $555 billion in climate money. Bold, aggressive action for climate justice and clean energy that we can pass immediately to save our people and our planet. We can use climate as a foundation for a deal on Build Back Better. We can bring climate justice to communities around the country and build a package that has 50 votes. Add in any other provisions on any other issues that have 50 votes, like climate, and that's our package. But we have to move. We have to move very, very quickly. And thanks to the hard work of leaders like all of you, we've gotten great agreement across the Democratic caucus in the Senate on the climate justice and clean energy parts of this package. And along with the solutions for working families, healthcare, education, free pre-K, prescription drugs that we have agreement on, we can get this done and get this done now using climate as the foundation. A Build Back Better package where climate justice and energy provisions will create clean energy jobs all across the country. We can achieve our global commitments and reduce economy-wide greenhouse gas emissions in the United States by at least 50% below 2005 levels by 2030. The pledge that President Biden made in Glasgow. We can get this done. We can create millions of good-paying union jobs in solar, electric vehicles, energy efficiency. We can create a civilian climate corps and put hundreds of thousands of people from all walks of life to work on projects to address the impacts of climate change in our communities. We can level the playing field for clean energy technologies through a package of clean electricity vehicles, domestic manufacturing tax credits for offshore wind manufacturing credits, solar manufacturing credits, so we make it here in America. We know we can do this. And at the same time, we can create justice for all the communities that have borne the worst burdens of our climate crisis in asthma and cancers and childhood mortality. We know that Black and Brown and Indigenous communities have always been left out of the climate solutions and have been disproportionately harmed by climate and environmental injustices. The Build Back Better package can help finally address this historic legacy of pollution, racism, and inequality. The time for talking is over. We must move from words to action, from negotiation to agreement. And we must move to get Build Back Better legislation that has 50 votes done by the State of the Union address on March 1st. It's January 26th. We have all of the next week, all of February. We should get this done by the State of the Union. In 2009, Representative Henry Waxman of California and I came close to passing an historic climate bill. We got it passed through the House of Representatives, but it died in the Senate. This is the next biggest opportunity we have had. Back then, Republicans and big oil and gas, they ran out the clock, and we were never able to get that bill through the Senate. Well, we didn't have 10 years to waste then, and we definitely don't have another 10 years to waste now. So we can't delay. We can't allow there to be yet another demise of an historic climate package. The American people know what we have to lose from inaction. People see what we can gain from a clean energy future. An agreement is at hand, and it truly is ours to either pass or fail. We simply cannot fail. Our economy, our health, our working families. This is the economic, health, national security, environmental, and moral issue of our time. The time for talk is over. We need action. Thank all of you for the work you are doing to get climate over the finish line. I'm proud to be your partner in Washington.
No, thank you, Senator Markey, and all of you watching at home. And you see why we wanted Senator Markey to be the kind of the keynote speaker at the Climate Can't Wait National Town Hall. There is no one that wakes up thinking more and working all day on climate issues than Senator Markey. So on behalf of the National Wildlife Federation, all of our sponsors, just thank you for your tireless leadership, because this has been a slog. You and I first met during the Waxy Markey battle, 12, 13 years ago now. We have a couple great activists that have a couple questions for you if you have a minute, sir.
Beautiful.
The first one is an amazing activist from Arizona, Columba Signs, who has a question. So, Columba.
Sorry about that. Hi, Senator. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you, Collin. My question will be, what can we do to help the Senate get around this delay? Do we need more people calling on and pressuring our senators? And what can the average person do to make a difference when it's maybe understandable to feel a bit helpless watching this opportunity slip away? Thank you.
Well, first of all, we're not going to allow this opportunity to slip away. We're going to capture it. We're not going to agonize. We're going to organize in order to ensure we capture this moment. And let me tell you something. Congress is a stimulus response institution, and there's nothing more stimulating than tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people saying to Congress, we want a climate bill now. So my message to you is, in 2010, we did not have anything like this. We didn't have a movement like this. We do today. So get involved, get active, get loud, make it so everyone everywhere knows that the climate crisis is real. The Republican obstructionism, fossil fuel industry obstructionism is there to try to stop us, but we are up. And so everything that you can do, texting, emailing, TikToking, calling your congressmen and senators, especially your senators right now. If you're a young person, join your local chapter of the Sunrise or Youth Climate Strikers. Call all your elected officials. Don't forget to push as well for citywide and statewide Green New Deals. The new mayor of Boston, Michelle Wu, she ran to be a Green New Deal mayor. So I'll be in the United States Senate with the same message. But right now, electronically, we can create a big campaign, a big buzz across the country, targeting the senators, letting them know we want climate to be at the top of the list, put in everything else that we can get 50 votes on, and put it on Joe Biden's desk, and we will become no longer the laggard, but the leader on climate change for the planet.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much, Senator. And as part of the climate action campaign, I think more than 1 million individual Americans have already weighed in, but now we got to do it again, right? We got to do it again and again and again until we get the job done. The next question is going to come from the great state of Montana. So we can go from the Southwest to the Intermountain West, and my good friend Frank Salazzi, who runs the Montana Wildlife Federation. So Frank.
Collin, thank you. Senator, thank you. Columba. Senator, what should I say to my friends and neighbors who believe that climate change is real threat and serious issue, but are concerned about government spending and inflation and what it's the cost to our families to address it? We hear that here. It's going to be too expensive to do all this.
It's too expensive not to do something. That's the answer. As I just said, there was $145 billion worth of damage to our country from climate change in 2021 alone. What do we have in this Build Back Better bill? We have $300 billion for tax breaks for wind and solar and all electric vehicles and battery storage technologies. If we just do that, we won't have $300 billion worth of loss every 2 years. We will have the solutions out there and creating the jobs. And so it's very short-term thinking. It's the same kind of thinking that says, why should I weatherize my home or my business? it's too expensive up front, except for the fact that for the next 25 years, it's going to cut your energy bill in half, and it'll be paying you, not to consume energy, because you will have made the investment up front. So my mother used to say, Eddie, your father and I were going to donate your brain to Harvard Medical School as a completely unused human organ. And then she would say, you have to learn how to work smarter, not harder. Weatherization is working smarter, not harder. You save 10 times as much in the long run if you invest up front with weatherization. And the same thing is true for the Build Back Better bill. If we invest now, we'll dramatically reduce energy costs in the long run, reduce the damage of hundreds of billions of dollars ultimately per year that are going to be caused, and create millions of new jobs simultaneously. What's not to like about that package? That's the smart way, as my mother would say. That's thinking smarter and not harder. Going down the same path just leads to more greenhouse gases, more destruction all across the world, and ceding leadership on clean energy technologies to China and Germany and other countries, rather than capturing that huge economic opportunity here in the United States. So my answer is think smarter, not harder. Let's get this done. Build Back Better puts us on the track to being the smart global leader.
Great. Thank you, Senator. You're exactly right. We can't afford not to, and the opportunities are immense, as you've been saying for many, many years. It's the greatest industrial opportunity to rebuild our economy and American manufacturing, and seizing both good jobs and reducing and helping the planet at the same time. So on behalf of all the sponsors today, I just want to thank you for making time. We know how busy you are. We're with you on this, and we will absolutely mobilize to help get this across the finish line. But is any final parting words of wisdom you have for the thousands of folks that are online with us right now?
I will just say it again. Hope in history is rhyming. This is the moment. This is the time. This is the place. You are the people. This is your generational opportunity to rise up. It seems like it's off election cycle, but it's inside the legislative cycle. This is when we need you. This is when we need you to show up. This is when we need you to text, to call, to email, to TikTok, to do whatever you do to communicate how important climate is as an issue to you, that it's a voting issue, that it's something that you care about. We can get this done. We can get it done by setting a deadline of the State of the Union on March 1st that Joe Biden is going to be delivering. And even in doing that, we're definitely going to be telescoping the time frame for us to finish this whole package. So you are being given an opportunity that the whole rest of the planet would envy, that you can influence the United States Senate in the next month to month and a half to do the things that are necessary to avoid the worst, most catastrophic consequences, and to be ultimately the moral leader, to be what Pope Francis wrote about in his encyclical Laudate Si, in praise of everything, as he called for us to protect everything that God has created. We can do it. We need your help. Now is the time for action. Please do it. And we will win if you act.
Thank you so much, Senator. So everyone out there watching right now, you heard it from the man himself, kind of the leading climate champion we have in the U.S. Senate. Again, Senator, thank you so much for spending time for us, and we have your back, and we will get this done together. So now I'm going to take us from one end of Pennsylvania Avenue in the Capitol to the other end of Pennsylvania Avenue to the White House. We're ecstatic to have one of the greatest champions of environmental action and environmental justice in our nation with us right now, and that's Brenda Mallory, who's the chair of the Council of Environmental Quality. Brenda's been a leader at EPA. She was a leader in the Obama administration. She was a leader in the Southern Environmental Law Center, a great friend of all of us in the NGO community, one of my favorite people in the Biden administration. Brenda, we are thrilled to have you with us, and we would love to help in any way we can help you and the president get this across the finish line. So let me turn it over to you.
Thanks so much, Collin. It is such a thrill to be here. And I will just tell you, any opportunity to hear Senator Markey talk about climate is a great opportunity, an opportunity to just be inspired one more time. I also want to thank Ramón for his remarks to kick us off as well. I mean, it's just, it's a pleasure to have the opportunity to kind of sit with you all and people who are leaders in this area and who are doing so much to try to help address climate change and environmental justice. You know, President Biden has said time and again that the climate crisis and extreme weather events are a blinking code red for our nation. That's why the administration is mobilizing an all-of-government approach to deploy and implement critical clean energy projects around the country. That's also why we worked quickly to pass the bipartisan infrastructure law to strengthen our nation's resilience to extreme weather and to address some of the most intractable environmental justice problems, like lead in drinking water and cleanup of Superfund sites and brownfields. And as an administration, we made big strides in the past year to reduce the burdens and confront the injustices that many communities are facing. Just to name a few, cracking down on the PFAS contamination and other toxic chemicals, cutting vehicle pollution, reforming FEMA's disaster programs, lowering energy burdens, helping tribal nations bolster climate resilience, electrifying ports, confronting housing segregation and unequal housing opportunities, and stepping up environmental enforcement and inspections. We need to supplement the historic investments from the bipartisan infrastructure law and our first year of the Biden-Harris administration with Build Back Better. Together, we can build a cleaner, healthier future. We're working hard and working fast to make sure that that happens, but we need Build Back Better. Now, I want to focus on a few initiatives that we are working on at the White House Council on Environmental Quality. 1 year ago, the president asked us to deliver the benefits of federal climate, environment, and clean energy investments to communities that need them most. We call this the Justice 40 initiative, and it is transforming hundreds of programs across the government. The initiative is the first of its kind, guiding 40% of the benefits from these federal programs to communities that are marginalized, underserved, and overburdened by pollution. We are actively implementing this initiative right now. We are also developing and will soon release a climate and economic justice screening tool, which will help us visualize and prioritize those areas in need of focus and assistance to achieve environmental justice. We're excited about this work and the work that is to come in 2022. As I travel around the country and meet communities and activists, I get re-energized to do this work more. There are people who are suffering and who are working hard to try to address the conditions that we're facing across this country in very unequal ways. We have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to deliver climate action and ensure environmental justice, but we cannot do it alone. We need you. We need your help, we need your voice, and we need your action. For all the work you have done and all the work you will do, I want to thank you. I want to say, keep it up. Don't stop raising your voices until we tackle this problem. We must all rise to meet this moment. From the president on down, the Biden-Harris administration will not stop working until we deliver on the commitments we made and the justice that communities are owed. So thank you so much, Collin, for giving me the opportunity to be here today.
No, thanks, Brenda. Thank you so much. And it is an honor to be with you. And actually, your leadership has been just spectacular. I'm getting a couple questions in from the chat. And I'm just wondering, somebody's asking, what do you think are some of the most successful actions so far, things you're kind of most proud of, and that are going to both tackle the climate crisis and accelerate the transition to clean energy and environmental justice?
Yeah, that's such a great question. I mean, I think one of the things that President Biden has done, and what I think of as kind of one of the more successful parts of how he has sort of structured this administration, is the things where he kind of sets forth the agenda. So the Executive Order 14008 that was mentioned earlier was a great example of just laying out for all to see all of the steps that are necessary for us to tackle this climate crisis. The result of that was creating really the most ambitious climate and environmental justice agenda that's ever been pursued. And he also, in December of 2021, he set out a similarly ambitious and comprehensive agenda for sustainability in the federal government. Here's an area where the federal government has just such a tremendous footprint. We're the largest buyer of goods and services, with acquisitions totaling $650 billion annually. That we have a real opportunity and a role in shaping markets and creating the jobs that kind of bring in innovative technologies to the market. And this is something the federal government has been doing for over 50 years, like leading by example, using the tools of procurement and sustainability policies to really kind of push and create and accelerate new markets in the for sustainable projects. So that is something that's been a huge, I think, catalyst to activities that we're already seeing people looking on how they can participate. And in the executive order, he also kind of basically rolled up all of the kind of goals that he'd set previously. You know, the requirement for 100% carbon-free, carbon pollution-free electricity by 2030, the 100% zero emission vehicle acquisition by 2035, a net zero emission building portfolio by 2045, and net zero emissions for the overall building operations. Like all of the things that the president has identified as being important, he's saying to the federal force, now we have to do our part to basically tackle all of these areas with all of the benefits for jobs and markets that sort of come with it. And then the final thing that I'll just mention, just in terms of that setting the agenda, is obviously the signing of the bipartisan infrastructure law is just a tremendous framework for a lot of great work that's going to happen in climate, in justice. We've got strengthening the resilience from extreme weather events and climate change. We were cleaning up toxic pollution. We have opportunities to expand on the access to clean drinking water, you know, remediate legacy pollution, and deliver electric school buses in support of clean air. So all of these things are now possible and can be deployed across the country because of the bipartisan infrastructure law. So that's not one thing, but those are things all rolled in together that I think are sort of significant elements of what the president has led us to accomplish this year.
Yeah, I mean, it really is just a historic first year. I mean, it's amazing the number of things that have happened. And I think, you know, one of the things that I think a lot of us that are so close to it, you know, struggle with is figuring out ways to share, you know, all the good things that are happening. So it's understandable to folks that are still worried about the pandemic and schools and putting food on the table and kind of connecting to folks' real lives. I mean, there are thousands of folks watching right now. And I think my last question is, how can we help tell this story? I mean, help share and help kind of break it down for folks. Because I do think the educational opportunities are significant. Because, you know, we're talking about lower energy bills, right? We're talking about healthier communities, you know, having fewer trips to the hospital because, you know, communities are safer and healthier. How can we tell the story about what President Biden is doing to fight climate change, and as we're creating this more fair and equitable kind of transition to a clean energy economy?
Yeah, so Collin, that is so great and so important. I think you probably have already noticed that this administration is really putting a lot more of a focus on like getting that narrative out. Like when the secretaries who are traveling all across the country to actually spotlight on the ways in which this money is being used and used now to help communities, that's a really significant opportunity to then build off of what they are doing. If you are in a community and you see that the Secretary of Transportation is there spotlighting the work that is happening in your area, and you also have the capacity to kind of show the connection with that, that's a great way to turn it from being an item that is in the middle of a huge legislative package to the specific circumstance in someone's life that is being affected by the work that the president is doing. So I just encourage folks to continue to tell those real life stories and use those as examples to show what's working. I think we believe that's really important, and you'll see a lot more of that from both the secretaries and this White House, just in showing what's working and how we're helping folks.
Yeah, it's just absolutely amazing work, and now he's got to make sure that everyone realizes the incredible benefits that are going to come from it, because it is transformative. I mean, this is as big of a a transformative moment that I think most of us have lived in, right, in the course of our lives. And it's exciting to be part of it. Now we still have to get Build Back Better done, as you mentioned in your remarks, and we're 100% with you. So thanks you to all of the amazing folks that have been on today. I mean, look, you heard from, the leading champion in the Senate and the leading champion in the White House. This is a really incredibly important moment. I want to make sure that everyone on the screen right now knows that, like, the fight's not over. Like, this bill is going to pass, but it's only going to happen with all of your activity. I want to thank everyone for attending. I want to thank Chair Mallory for her amazing leadership. I want to thank Senator Markey for his incredible leadership. It was great to co-host with my friend Ramón Cruz. I want to thank Columba and thank Frank for their great questions, and all of the sponsors for their participation. But we all got to do the work now, right? I mean, now that we're now the holiday break is over, now we have to kind of redouble our efforts to get this across the finish line. So I hope you'll stick around at the end of the event to help us get some of the climate solutions that we talked about during this town hall today across the finish line. Senator Markey said we need folks, calling the Senate, calling their senators, making sure that this is still top of mind, and making sure this is one of the top priorities for them to pass in the very near future. Please, get involved on social media. Please share all the kinds of tools. There's a QR code that's going to appear right where my face is just in a couple of seconds as soon as I go off screen. That's going to help you actually call directly into your senator's office and demand climate action. So as soon as I get off the screen, please take your phone, take that QR code, and please do everything you can to get involved. This is one of those moments where, when we look back, there's going to be one of two outcomes. There's going to be a moment where we basically change the world, or there's going to be a moment of missed opportunity. I am confident that we're going to seize this opportunity because, as the title of this town hall says, climate can't wait, and inaction is not an option. In failure, it's just unacceptable. So thank you so much for being with us, and let's get this done. Thanks, everybody.